there is like a reality show with like a Mormon guy and a bunch of wives or something. But I kind of count that differently because that's strictly polyandry, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't go both ways where they can have other husbands or whatever. I think they aren't even cool with like woman on woman or anything like that. So, and it's all hiding behind the veil of this is all okay because my religion says so.
Hmm.
It's not even about like, hey, this is just how I want to live my life. It's more like God says I can, so I should.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
Well,
and
and that's one of the things is the balance there that um it's like if it should be it should be equitable,
Mhm.
right? If say the guy can have multiple girlfriends or whatever, well then those girlfriends ought to be able to have multiple boyfriends. Otherwise, it's not really like it's not balanced.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
so yeah, I think you're right. That is a little bit different, and because generally speaking, in the poly world, like there are no like oh only it's not really. I wouldn't consider it to be poly if it's like oh only one person can have other partners, but not my partner, right? Like they can't. I can go do whatever I want, but they got to stay at home and not see anybody else. That's not fair.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, like how much of that, I mean, when it comes to like the Mormon aspect, right? Like how much of that is really just using some religion as this kind of crux to kind of like just have a bunch of sex. Like I really I feel like it's just fueled by sex in that case.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, and in fact, in that regard, it's closer to swinging, honestly, to
but they
some
all
extent.
like live together and stuff. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah, that's true. I guess, yeah, you're right. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
and I mean, let's be honest. Like a lot of poly does kind of center around sex too, right? Like again, if you're comfortable saying so, but like, have you ever had a partner that you established up front you never have sex?
No, but that's the thing. It's like that's just a normal component of a relationship. Like monogamous relationships. Have you ever been in a monogamous relationship where you didn't have sex with a partner but you were together? Like, would you get married to somebody and not ever have sex with them?
You do remember my first marriage, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure at some point you had sex,
we
right?
we did, yeah,
Yeah.
but like halfway through, like we dated, we were like engaged for like 2 years or whatever. 1 year into it, she was like, "I think we should wait until marriage." I was like, "You know how that works, right?" Like
Yeah,
when we've already done it, it's a little, like we've
yeah,
kind of the horse left the gate sort of thing.
yeah. The seal's already been broken there at that
Right.
point.
So, but I was like, patient or whatever. And then we got married. And then 2 months later, she wanted a divorce. And it's like, oh, you just wanted the party. I see. Okay.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah. Well, and something you'd said early on about being married, like that, I was thinking about that too, and how you were saying, oh, now you're kind of off the off the table as far as being able to explore non-monogamy. Well, that's not really true. Like a lot of people I know who are poly are married, and that's
yeah.
never been a thing. Like it's like that itself it's only in our head that it's a barrier to anything because you could be happily married and see other people and
Hmm.
there you go like that
Yeah.
doesn't that's not a blockade to exploring non-monogamy. Now it does change things like
Yeah.
it can kind of create like a hierarchical system where the married people, especially if there's kids involved, like that particular couple takes precedence over, say, like the other partners, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously you have duties to concern yourself with, like you got kids, you got a house, you've got things, and it's like me personally, I don't believe in the hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like there are certain things that are gonna
Right.
take priority.
So
And you can,
yeah, so I'm glad you bring that up because so before I address why I might consider myself locked into monogamy, I do want to talk about that in terms of like equity when it comes to like hierarchical situations. I feel like that uh, part of the problem I have with why I think I could never do the poly thing is is the amount of effort I would feel compelled to put into each and every relationship. Like there has to be some kind of like somebody tends to get more of your attention than another or more of your time, or like jealousy can kind of rear its head in ways that don't necessarily have anything to do with sex or love or anything. Sometimes it's just about time, like. So how how do all these complex dynamic interactions between several people, like what a tangled skein, right? Like
well, yeah, it can be. And it's like, while love is infinite, time is not. Like you only have so much time, and obviously you got to take time for yourself too.
yeah,
And that typically, as long as that's sort of put out there from the beginning, it typically isn't a problem. You kind of just, it depends, because some people are very demanding, or have like kind of a tit for tat sort of calculation in terms of like what they're expecting. Like, oh well, you spent a weekend hanging out with this person, I need to spend a weekend hanging out too, like that kind of thing. And
mhm,
it's a matter of kind of just letting go of the tabulation, like keeping a chart of all that stuff, because it really doesn't matter as long as you have some time here and there. It balances out. And but it can be an issue, because it's like you can't necessarily spend as you can't spend the same amount of time and do the same things with all the partners, right? But
right.
one thing that helps is having time when multiple partners are all together, like do a game day or something, or go do something all of you together. And that's something that I do. Like my partners, we'll go hang out and get together and do things. And we have a thing we call Stupid Hearts Day, which is like kind of like Valentine's Day. Everybody meets people, even partners you haven't met before. It's a chance to kind of get to know people and just hang out and have a laugh and stuff like that. Um, and that really helps. Like I think the thing that would be a problem, is if things were kind of in the dark, right? Like you don't know the other partners, like you've never met them or something like that, and maybe just casually know about them. But you know that can create, because people's minds tend to craft scenarios. Like we our imagination goes wild, and like we tend to, if we don't know something, we'll just kind of assume the worst, right?
Yes, imagination is always worse than the truth.
Yeah, yeah,
Almost
it's
always.
exactly. And when you get to meet somebody and know somebody, like all of a sudden that completely changes. Like partners, like meeting them is kind of my favorite thing. Like I've always, like they're all cool, and people I can get along with and stuff like that. And that really good, that helps a lot, because then it's like you don't feel like that person is taking away from you necessarily. It's more like, oh, that my partner is being fulfilled, like they have, it's well, as I think I'd mentioned before, in the previous episode, a concept called compersion, which is sort of, in a nutshell, it's kind of like feeling joy and happiness at partners feeling joy and happiness with other people.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like, if you, Casey, like you are feeling happy and stuff with your new partner, right?
Mhm.
I that makes me feel good. I like that, seeing that joy, you know, it makes me feel good. I'm like, hey, you know, Casey's happy. Like, that's a good thing. I don't feel like, oh my God, well, you know, I can't hang out with my friend now because he's married and like this girl's taking all his time away and stuff like that. I don't feel
And
like
he lives in Germany and
yeah, exactly. Well, that I don't have any personal feelings about that, but it certainly puts a damper on certain opportunities that we had or things that we could have done.
yeah.
But I, you know, I don't take it personally. Yeah. So
And I do intend to like be back often, like next week, for instance.
mhm.
But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, even in the you know, in my own head, like any kind of jealousies and stuff that might exist um in the monogamous track, let's say, I could see how like meeting and hanging out with, you know, whatever person or persons that centers around could actually like smooth the waters. And yeah, like in a past relationship, some girl I was dating for a few months met a previous girlfriend and they became like kind of friends and stuff. And you know, it wasn't a poly thing because the previous girlfriend and I were just friends, but it was still kind of cool to see that. So like I can kind of relate based on that interaction, like how cool that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, something else you mentioned about love being infinite. I think love is an interesting topic to go into because so well let me start by saying why I know I'm fixed into monogamy is I actually have found a person where I feel all these needs are fulfilled.
About sex. It's there like it is with any kind of, you know, even a monogamous relationship. There's sex there, but people don't, you know, if somebody finds out you're monogamous, they're not like, oh, so sex. They don't immediately jump to sex and think, oh, you're having sex with one person, huh?
Would you say that you are in love with your partners in the same degree that you have been in the past in monogamous relationships?
Oh,
the mercy killer's a gift.